everybody. My name's Klaatu. This is the talk on programming with Lua in the LÖVE game engine. This talk is meant for people who have really zero programming experience, because I found that Lua is a great training and teaching tool. Arguably, possibly easier to learn, I venture to say, than even Python, which is kind of famously, smooth to kind of get into. Let's see, what's on my slide? Stuff I've done, yes, okay. So I am a person on the internet, so I do internet things, but I also do tabletop things. So one of the things that I did last year was I ran a Kickstarter, and it failed, so I did it anyway, and I designed a card game called Petition. If you want to play this card game, hit me up after this talk, because I love playing it and need more people to play it, because only 20 people in the world know that it exists. So Petition. Game design blog. I have a game design blog at mixedsignals.ml, and I wrote a book on this, the talk that I'm giving right now. There's a book version of this called Lua on the Raspberry Pi, and I made sort of a short link. It's a redirect, mixedsignals.ml/Lua. It'll take you to the A-Press publishing site, and you can purchase the book. If you are in charge of large installations of books, like a library, purchase several of them. I need it. So that's what I've done. Before we get started, actually, don't mistake this for an icebreaker activity, because I like ice. I don't need it to be broken. But yeah, you can do this. You can play. Green shirts, but you can still play. So take one sheet of paper and pass this pad of paper around, please. Oh, geez, yeah. Make sure everyone gets a sheet. And on that sheet, I want you to write a number, 1 through 10, your choice, and then a win or lose condition. Is that clear?
For someone else to guess what you have entered? Or?
I said nothing more than a win or lose condition. So we're going to make a game together, blindly. So yeah, do that. And I'm going to give you lots of time for it. We're not going to resolve this yet. Just make sure you get a piece of paper, write down a number 1 through 10, and then a win or a lose condition. Okay. So while you're doing that, let's talk about Lua a little bit. So for personal use, Lua is really nice because it is what is called strongly typed, which kind of means in practice that it's really, really consistent. It tends to be, in my opinion, quite predictable. There are little things in Lua that once you learn one part of it, then you can almost guess the rest of it. The same is not true for some other programming languages. Not to pick on Python, but I think Python sometimes can be a little bit inconsistent. Like you'll type something like if foo is bar or is bar, then do something. And then if you try, I don't know, if foo is more than bar or greater than bar, it doesn't know. So it's like it tricks you into natural language and then throws you back out. Lua tends to just be pretty straightforward. I mean, whether or not it's friendly or whatever is a completely different question. I think it is, but it is consistent. Lua does not care about white space, so if you're used to languages that do care about white space, you do not have to worry about that in Lua. That is not a thing that Lua cares about. You can put as many spaces or tabs or blank lines. Lua doesn't care. Lua is also not an object-oriented language. It is it's basically a front end to C. But there are some really cool tricks that you can do in Lua, which we'll talk about a little bit today, to mimic object-oriented actions. And if you don't know what that means, that's okay. It's just something for you to know for the future. Lua also uses a simple syntax. It is easy to remember, I find. And Lua is really, I think, easy to teach. There are a couple of tricks in Lua that once you learn them, you basically know Lua. It's really kind of nice. Now, if you're a developer, Lua is is really simple for a programming language. They advertise that their manual is only 100 pages. But I mean, that's good. Like if you think about as much has been written about C or C++ or Python, like Lua fitting into 100 pages is kind of cool. Lua is small. It's about 25,000 lines of C code. It is embeddable. It runs in like 300 kilobytes of memory or something ridiculous like that. It's portable because it's just written in boring old C. It's nothing fancy. It's just a really sort of minimal kind of language. And it's really easy to package. You can throw Lua and liblua into your package, and you've just distributed Lua. There's not a whole lot to it. And that's my slideshow. Okay. So now I'm gonna. Yes.
The two packages
Yep.
are Lua and LÖVE.
Lua and LÖVE 2D is the thing. Yeah. So if you're just joining us, you want to install Lua, a package called Lua, which on whatever computer you are using, it might be apt install Lua, might be DNF install Lua, and then generally it'll give you a bunch of choices, and you can choose 5.1, you can choose 5.2, you can choose 5.3. Doesn't really matter. I am using 5.1.5. That's what I've got on this computer. So if you want to mirror exactly what I'm doing, that's what you would want to do. And then LÖVE 2D is the game engine that we're going to be using to give us graphics. And that is, the more recent you can get, the better. But for this talk, we're going to keep it pretty simple. We shouldn't run into any issues if you have to fall back on an old version. I did run into some problems on old versions when I was doing like particle effects and stuff, but we're not going to do that right now. If you want particle effects, buy the book. There's all kinds of particle effects in there. Tiling, lots of cool stuff. Okay, so does anyone not have Lua and LÖVE 2D installed yet? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. LÖVE, sorry, it's not LÖVE 2D. It is LÖVE 2D technically on other places. Yeah, so the trick is if you're on Ubuntu, you can go to LÖVE 2D's site and get a PPA from them. That will install a more recent version for you. Which is, I mean, it's not a horrible thing to have, so that might be worth it. Is the pad of paper somewhere? I would like to write down a number and a win condition myself. The PPA thing? Oh, does anyone not have a piece of paper in front of them with a number and a win or a lose condition on it? If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then that means no. Did you not get one? That's okay. I'll pass this sort of to you, and then you can pass it up and over. So what we're doing is, if you've missed anything, we're writing down a number 1 through 10 on a piece of paper, and then we're writing a win or a lose condition, and whatever that means to you is what you can base your answer on. There's no right or wrong. That's the good news. All right. Just so that we all know that there's no tricks. I've written it down, folded the paper, and I've placed it under my box petition, which is available at thegamecrafter.com/. whatever it's, mixed signals / games / petition. Okay, so let's get started then. So I want to start at the beginning with Lua, and we're going to just kind of jump right into it, really. So the first thing that you want to do probably is make a project directory. And your project directory should more or less contain, I probably need to just make that white on black and drop the green, huh? All right. There we go. Okay. Get there. Okay, so you're making a directory, and you can call it whatever you want. It's going to be a dice-based game, and it should more or less contain these files. You don't have to put the credit in the license, but you want to make a directory called font. You want to make a directory called image. I do img, so I don't have to type as much. And then eventually, we're going to make a file called main.lua. So yeah, more accurately, your directory will contain font and image right now. Now, the LÖVE 2D engine is pre-programmed. So I should back up actually even more. So Lua is the programming language, right? So that's what we'll be typing. We'll be typing Lua commands, a Lua program. And that Lua program will be interpreted by a game engine called LÖVE. The game engine is just a bunch of libraries sort of pre-programmed to respond to specific commands from you. So rather than having to write the code to display an image on screen, we're going to just say, display an image on screen. LÖVE will interpret that command and display images on screen for us. LÖVE is pre-programmed to look for a file called main.lua. So there's nothing Lua specific about the file name main.lua, but there is something LÖVE specific to main.lua. In other words, to make this really short and simple, if you're programming something in for the LÖVE game engine, you want your file that's going to be executed, it needs to be called main.lua. Okay? So I'm going to open up a file called main.lua in a text editor, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a hash exclamation mark / user usr / bin / env lua space lua. Strictly speaking, it's not necessary for the LÖVE game engine to see that. It does make things nice, though. It's a good habit to get into. Okay, so one of the nice things about LÖVE is that it enforces a structure onto your program. That's not necessarily great for the rest of your life, but certainly as you're learning, this may actually really make it easy to kind of understand what you have to do to get a program that sort of makes sense. So we're going to make 3 sections to our code. And this is really, honestly, this is not a horrible thing to do for whatever you're writing. I stole this model from Lua when I'm teaching Python now, because it's a really, really sane way of structuring a program. So we're going to make 3 sections, and we'll just leave them empty right now, but they need to exist, so might as well make them now. One is called function LÖVE.load. And then at the end, below that, put the word end. So a function, does anyone know what a function is? Yeah. So a function is some code that is kind of packaged into a recipe that you can then call later on to run it over and over again, so you don't have to keep writing the same code. So function LÖVE.load is the part of your code that when someone launches the LÖVE game engine, that's going to happen first. The next function that we're going to make is called LÖVE.draw. Can anyone guess what that's going to do? Yeah, it draws whatever people will see on the screen. So that means, because this is a motion image, right? It's a video game, so it's refreshing constantly. So this function is a loop. Anything you put into LÖVE.draw is going to happen like every millisecond. It happens over and over and over and over again, which is good, because possibly you want it to refresh. You want some animation in there. And I think we're going to stick, we'll just keep with those 2 functions first. So one to load everything in, and then one to continue drawing lots and lots. So we're going to try to get something on screen pretty quickly here, just so you see how these things interact with one another. And so the first thing that we'll do, if a computer is going to draw a window on the screen, what do you think some of the attributes that it would want to know would be? Size of the window, right? So we can define that, and for reasons that I won't necessarily go into right now, I'm going to do that above the LÖVE.load function. They're going to get loaded in, and then LÖVE by Lua, and then LÖVE will execute the LÖVE.load function. You can put it in LÖVE.load. It's OK to do that, I think. I haven't done it in a while. But it's sort of best to leave it outside. And I'm using CW and CH for canvas width and canvas height. And I'm going to make it fairly small here. OK, so now the big question is, if we want to draw something, well, so let's see what would happen. Let's just try this. Let's save what we have. OK, saved it. And now from my terminal, from within the directory, does anyone not know how to get to their project directory in a terminal? That's fine. So the way that you're going to do that, where did you make your directory? Where is it? I don't believe you. I think you're lying to me. I don't think you're there. So where's your directory? Do you have a terminal open? Okay. So do a pwd and tell me where you are right now, which is what pwd will tell you.
Yeah, I'm in my main. Oh, wait.
Where?
I think I go eat somewhere and then took myself out.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. So you're in your home directory right now, and you've made a project directory there in your home directory? Or can you make one?
So I made a directory in the LÖVE.
Okay. Make a directory in your home directory. I should have been more clear about that. Take that directory and put it into your home. And then, once that is there, do a cd and then a tilde slash whatever your directory was called. So maybe it's dice demo or whatever you called it. Then you will be, you're there?
Yep, cd.net.
Fantastic. Anybody else? Anybody else? I want this to work. I'm more interested in this working than not talking. Cool. All right, if you're not telling me you don't know where you are, then that's on you. Okay, so now we'll type in from that directory. So as long as you do a pwd and you get back the path to the demo directory that you made, we're going to just type in LÖVE and then a dot, LÖVE space dot. That means run LÖVE within this folder. Oh, okay. Yeah, so LÖVE2D dot, possibly. And you should, ideally, get that. Which isn't super exciting, but there you go. Okay. You might see errors about like the Jack server not being started. That's not an error. That's just a warning. It's just because we're not utilizing the audio system that it thinks we might want to use. What's that? Sure. So, and that's good because actually I don't know where my stupid command is. emacs-nw main. Okay. So what we're doing here, this is pretty much all you need right now to get that wonderful blank window that we got. Oops. This is your source code. And so what we're doing, does anyone have any idea does anyone who's maybe hasn't programmed all that much have any idea what we are really doing here up at the three? Yeah, we're setting a variable. So does everyone, I'm going to tell you what a variable is now instead of asking. A variable is like a box. And boxes like to have things in them. So in programming languages, we're allowed to make any number of boxes that we want. They're called variables. We can just make them for free. We just get to just call them whatever. And usually the syntax, not always, but usually the syntax is something like, hey, here's a variable name that I just made up, equals, and then whatever you want to put into the box. So box, here's some data that I wanted to put into the box. Now it's there in the variable. And then anytime you want to refer to the contents of the box, you just call the box name, and the programming language knows what you're talking about. So those are variables. You've made your first variables now. So we have set a width and a height. This is a little bit taller than wide, but that's because I'm kind of having it in mind for a mobile phone. So I figure people will probably play my little game this way. So that's why I chose those dimensions. Okay, so I think we're all,
Excuse me.
yeah.
When the window actually opens up, the height isn't that much more. I don't know the height.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure why that is. It should have looked correct. Quite possibly, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to put stuff into our code, and I'm going to start throwing out a bunch of like things at you that aren't going to make a whole lot of sense, or they'll make sense while I'm telling you, and then you'll walk away later and you'll think, you know what, that guy was totally not cool because he was just throwing names at us, and how am I ever going to remember that stuff? I have an answer for that. So if you want to type that while I tell you the answer. Why are these things not showing up? Oh, I know why. Here, let me just switch to text mode. There we go. That's better. Yeah, so things like love.window.set, capital T for title, and then the name of my game, love.window.setMode, all that stuff. Oh, there's some stuff that's not on the right line, or that's getting cut off. Here we go.
Do I care about the rules?
Nope. Well, not for this purpose. And yeah, so these things here, these magical settings that I'm just kind of using without explaining what they are or where they come from, those come from LÖVE, from the game engine. So those are functions, just like we've written here, function love.load. They're functions of their own. Now those functions aren't in our code because they exist in the LÖVE game engine code. So when you installed the LÖVE game engine, you installed, unknowing to yourself, all these other functions, these love.window functions and stuff like that. So, oh, and there you go. Yeah, and that's why the size wasn't correct, right? Because we hadn't set a mode of the window. So in this case, what we're doing is we're telling LÖVE when it's loading, and remember I said the first thing it does is it looks for a function called love.load. So we're telling it, hey, I want you to call the window dice, and I want you to set the mode of the window, which is just the way that they chose to express that we're going to now sort of control how the window looks. So I'm gonna, does everyone have that typed in? Okay, I mean, we'll come back to it anyway, so I guess I'll quit. Actually, I wouldn't have to even do that. I should just leave that open. I should leave it in text mode, and then, oh no, okay, so tmux doesn't know how to do that. Okay, never mind. So then we're gonna do a love dot again. And now look at the window. Oop, not that window, this window. There you go. That looks a little bit more like that, sorta. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody? And look at the title. Dice. So whatever you called whatever you used for the set title, that's what inherited, that's where that value came from. So I really hate when learning a programming language or teaching a programming language, when all these special things start coming out and you're just like, well, how am I ever going to remember? Or how do I even ever find out that that there's such a thing as love.window.setTitle? And the way that you find out is you go to your web browser and you look up neither can I, actually. There we go. You look up love2d.org, and you go to the wiki, in this case. And see here on the left, there's all these love.things. Those are all the cool things that you can do with LÖVE. Now, not all of them are going to mean anything to you yet, but that is at least where you find out what they expect to receive from you and what's available to you. So, I don't know, how do you play audio in a LÖVE game? Probably the LÖVE.audio function, the library. And yeah, sure enough, there's a bunch of stuff. So when in doubt, just go to the documentation and just look at the reference of all the different libraries that LÖVE has for you, and then you can do stuff. Okay, so the real power of Lua, we may as well get to it right now, the real power is what is called a table. A table in Lua is what other programming languages call an array, A-R-R-A-Y. I don't know if there might be some technical differences. I don't really know. Like, you know, I haven't looked at the code that constructs all these things, but they're basically the same thing. So if you've ever used an array in any programming language, or probably in math, then it's the same thing. And Lua tables unlock really about 80% of the language, to be honest, including the stuff like the object-oriented sort of mimicking. So here's a comment in Lua. Not in text mode again. 2 dashes and some words is a comment. So Lua ignores anything after 2 dashes. So I'm going to do 2 dashes, and I'm just going to kind of make note that this is setting the screen. Size, I could say, set screen size. And that way when we look at this later, we'll remember, oh yeah, that's what that did. So now we're going to create some tables. So create tables. And I think what we'll do is we'll call one local Dave equals curly brace. And the other one's going to be local Hal equals curly brace. Now you don't know why that's cool yet, but tables are really great. And here's one of the reasons. How can I demonstrate this quickly? So Lua uses tables to describe a variable, or at least that's how we're using it. So in other words, we want 2 players in our little dice game that we're building together. And so one is going to be Dave, and one is going to be Hal. One's going to be the computer, and one's going to be the human at the controls. Each of them will have different aspects to them. Since they are each a table, we can just throw variables into their tables, and that way we're building kind of our players. It is exactly like an array, yeah. Yeah. So if we do, for instance, let's do, this will be a little bit funky because of an update to LÖVE. It's kind of annoying, but that's okay. So we're going to do a local dot Dave.color, rather, local space Dave.color, and we're going to define it as a set of numbers. And this is kind of where it gets ugly. Actually, sorry, we don't need the local there. Just Dave.color equals, and then a bunch of numbers. So these numbers are RGB values. This is, so the way that LÖVE expresses colors has changed. And being from a video background, I kind of associate color as 0 through 255 shades of some value, RGB. So this is how I write it. You can also write it as a decimal from 0 to 1, so 0.2, 0.3. I can't think like that, so I take what I want to write and then just divide it by 255. So, sorry. You can just copy these numbers. If you are familiar with how HTML colors work, this is basically the same thing. If you take a hex code, break it into 3 sets of 2-digit numbers, you can just kind of you can turn up the R and dial down the G and up the blue, and you'll get purple and so on. So those are numbers, and they're going to represent a color.
Is everything functional? Does that
I want to say yes to that. Yeah, I can't think of any time that I've ever had to do anything special for it, so. Copying in the wrong values. Hopefully you're not copying me. Probably you are, because I'm giving the talk. Okay, there we go. That'll do. That'll do. All right, so I'm going to do something now to sort of reinforce a couple of things, which you'll thank me for momentarily. All right, so I'm going to paste this one in, and note that this is in the love.load function. So that means that when we launch love, this is going to get loaded right away. And it is using the graphics library for love, so it's love.graphics. And then within that library, it's using the set background color with a capital B and a capital C. Set background color, no U in color. Set background color. And then it gives it, again, some of those weird numbers that I like to use, which to me is perfectly clear. What's that? Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely want to do the set background color. So we probably can guess what that's going to do, so let's test it. And maybe I'll test it separate from you so that I don't have to take that screen away while I do it. So if you do a love dot in your project directory right now, you should see that. Or a syntax error. Could see that. Anyone else got a syntax error? Yeah. Oh wait, there's the, oh no, it's the same, sorry. There we go, all right. So this is in the love.load function. Could be, I don't feel like it should be. Do you have curly braces around the colors? Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, what kind of? Oh, what? Oh, yeah, sorry. I did that initially by accident. Sorry to confuse you. Yeah, once we've established that the variable exists, we just call the variable by name. There's a variable, it's called Dave, and then we can just call it Dave. So in fact, I'll even put a little comment here just to kind of separate it out from everything else. Call it, for players. There we go. Yeah, no, I didn't, apparently. So any more syntax errors, or are we all seeing a green?
Not getting syntax error, but it's not giving the color background. It's not getting that background. It's not getting inside the. You're calling it inside the love load function.
Okay, just for fun, try moving this whole thing into, I'm just curious as to what will happen, into the draw function. Are you guys, what version of LÖVE are you on, out of curiosity?
9.
9, okay. That could be the, but wait, you're on, no, someone, you're on 9, aren't you? Yeah. Oh, sorry, no, I heard a voice and decided that even though the person whom I was speaking to, whose mouth wasn't moving, I just decided that he was the one talking. The person right behind you, you're on 9? Or did you?
I'm having issues
Okay.
trying to get it running.
Oh, LÖVE in general.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just like installing dependencies and stuff, so
Oh.
I'm just copying code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I've got get added through the but not internal system yet. That's right. I'll call somebody and get a hand like later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll just follow you through code for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, that didn't do anything. I moved that over to the core.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So we'll see. Nothing. It's just not rendering it correctly. That is interesting. We'll have to see. Yeah. What. I mean, hopefully that will not persist through the whole project. I don't remember ever encountering that particular issue. You know what it might be? I'll bet. I'll bet it is. Me, I'm running LÖVE 11, .1 or something. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the. No, wait, that's not. No, that is. Yeah.
So visual living changes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's the RGB values. Okay, so instead of, hey everybody, I figured something out. So move your background thing back to the love.load. And then instead of my wacky numbers, just drop the /255. Just give it, in this case, 25 comma, 125 comma, 75. Yeah, because I forgot, or I didn't forget, but I didn't make that connection, that as of, I think, 11-ish, they decided, for whatever reason, to go from 0 to 1, with 0 being...
It's reading actual wiki pages. Whereas just prior to 11, when I colored my values, within the range of 0 to 255 instead of 0 to 1.
Yeah, so that's what's happening, so cool. I hope this has been a valuable lesson to everyone about debugging. What's that? Yeah, exactly. That too. That. Okay, cool. So is anyone feeling totally lost? I mean, I know someone's having an issue with installing, but is everyone else approximately nearby where I am?
I don't know that it's worth mentioning, but very much
Oh.
and it's just sort of Chromebook difficulties, which
Okay.
you can possibly plan for, and it's fine.
What?
I am following along. Well, I'm trying to do it.
That's what I was. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's the display server rather than anything else. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's too bad.
It's still good.
Okay. Well, we'll keep going then. So we know how to create a background color. That's great. So now we will.
How do you make it lighter and darker color? Like they change the color.
You kind of have to do like math sort of in your head. So it's like, 25 is pretty low. Like if you picture it as a color mixer, 25 would be pretty low on the red. The green would be pretty sort of in the middle. So if you want it all lighter, then you need to dial everything up equally. So instead of 25, 125, 75, maybe you would do math.
I'd say it's easy.
Like 35, 135, 85. That would do it by like that much, but yeah. Okay.
Oh, so for Dave and Al.color, should we drop the 255s off?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So for Dave and Hal colors, you also need to drop the /255. So if you're on version 9 or whatever, none of your numbers should have a /255 because you're using a traditional, well, for me, what a traditional RGB scale would look like. Not for the LÖVE developers. Okay, so we're gonna have to do some legwork now because we want to actually get like a game going. So what we're gonna do is try to find some graphics, and is everyone on? Is anyone not online right now? Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna throw some graphics on a website real quick. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Oh, sure. Welcome to building management systems. Hello.
Huge. We'll just we've got 34 minutes.
Okay, so if everybody goes to trying to figure out how to convey a URL quickly to you. I'll just type it into the code. Don't type this. Get images from http://slackermedia.info/tank/stuff.zip. You should be able to wget it or just go there in a website, web browser, and it should start downloading. And that's going to have some images and some fonts. There's nothing special about these images and fonts. They are free content that I got from openclipart.org, which is a fantastic website if you need graphics for practically anything. It's a great site. And also fonts from fontlibrary.org, I think. So, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, maybe I did it wrong.
No, it's not connecting to the server.
It does work? Okay. I should know the curl command, but I don't. Yeah. I can put it on a thumb drive, probably. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So unzip that folder and put the images into the IMG folder and the fonts in the font folder. Oh, cool. Wow, that's fancy. Yeah, so if they're not there, put them there. And you should see some fonts and some images in your directory. This is an important concept. If you do web design at all, then this is probably old hat to you. But if not, it's really, really important for your own sanity to, when you're building a project, whether it's a web project, a LÖVE game that you're programming, a video production, music production, anything that you are working on, you should have a project directory. And then in that project directory, you should be copying everything that needs to live with that project into that project folder. Really. And that way, when you archive it later, you'll have everything that you need. It's like a self-contained unit. That's particularly important for this because the end result of all this is that you're going to package everything up that's in your project directory. And if your fonts and your images aren't in there, then your game is not going to work. So if anyone had to hazard a guess, how do you think, and pseudocode is acceptable here, how do you think we would assign a default image to represent Dave or Hal? Pseudocode is perfectly acceptable, so you can just sort of make stuff up. But how would we do that if anyone had to? Set image, maybe? Yeah? Yeah. But what? So what? No. Don't look at the manual. No, wait. Do look at the manual. What am I talking about? That's great. Someone just wanted to look at a manual. LÖVE dot something set something. Now, to what variable will we assign this something? Does anyone have a notion as what that would look like? So something. Wait, what?
Like Dave pick, like local Dave pick.
Not local. I lied about local. We set it local once, and we don't ever have to say that again. So Dave.
So just Dave pick. I would name it
Dave dot pick, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Because remember, in LÖVE, when you make a table, and that's what these things are, those little curly braces at the very top. When you make that, you can then sort of expand on it as much as you want with a dot and then whatever word you want to use. So if we want to assign a default image to a variable, we could say, okay, Dave dot, I don't know, give me a word that would make sense in this instance. Image. I do IMG because typing is just not in. And then we could say it's going to equal, and then we need to look up the function for this. Does anyone look that up? LÖVE.graphics. What was it? New image. And then parentheses, and then the full path of not the full path, but like the path of the image, which since we're in our project directory is img and then slash and then whatever name of the image that we want to use, which in this case we'll just use die1.png.
So we're declaring this inside that function, or is it outside?
That is, it should be inside.
So we're not declaring it up the top with the date.color.
Correct. Yeah. We could try. No, I don't think it would work up there because we want LÖVE itself. LÖVE is going to look at the function LÖVE.load. So stuff that we're telling directly to LÖVE, we want it to be inside that function. No? Cool. Okay. Great. Yeah, it's like habit versus what'll actually work. Sometimes they're completely different things. So now we can use the same exact logic for, well, actually, let's not do that yet. Let's just save that. Let's launch, see what happens. Does anyone have a guess as to what's going to happen? Oh, that's the wrong one. What's that?
Let's go back.
No, I know.
Yeah, not declaring it. It's fine, it's able to actually.
Correct. Okay, so the problem is that we've declared this thing that we got right out of the manual. It should totally work. Why wouldn't this work? Well, the problem here is that we've declared something, but then we haven't actually drawn it on the screen. And remember, LÖVE is only going to draw what we have.
Your error was your file doesn't exist at that path. So you.
So you unpack the image in that place.
See, the problem I'm having is that I'm cheating a lot by using something that's, you know, like on those cooking shows where everything's already prepared, and I'm just, I'm not.
Gordon Ramsay just dies now.
I know.
That eighth souffle better be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so you may have gotten a green screen. That's fine. Let's figure out how to draw this thing on our screen like a die. Now this is going to be a little bit. This is going to be a lot of stuff to type, and it's not necessarily going to all be pretty, but we'll try it first. So we'll do a LÖVE. So this is in the draw function, and we're doing LÖVE.graphics.draw. And then the first thing that we need to do is tell it what to draw. Now, this is a little bit confusing because you might think, well, we want to draw /image/die1.png, right? Well, no, we want to draw the thing that is set to that. So we reference that variable. And that's a pretty common thing in programming where just because that's how it works, you have to you use the function whose job it is to go find a file, and once that's done, you've assigned it to a variable, and so then when you want to actually use the image, you use a different function whose job it is to refer to the location of the file and then to draw it on the screen. When to use one and not the other can be a little bit confusing at first because you might think that you just want to do one thing, but yeah, so I don't know how to tell you to learn that other than just to look up those functions in the docs and see what it tells you to do. And then maybe somewhat predictably, we want to do things like, let's put it maybe sort of halfway down the, sort of in the middle of the screen more or less. So that's the canvas width divided by 2. And then we'll do the canvas height divided by 2. And all of this stuff, again, this isn't just me like just making up stuff to put into the parentheses. This is all in the documentation for this function. So if you're sitting down, after this and thinking, okay, I'm going to try to make a game. I remember there was something about drawing some stuff in the function LÖVE.draw. Go look at the documentation, maybe do a search on the internet, how to draw something on screen in LÖVE 2D, and it will tell you what all of these values are. I don't even remember. There's so many values that this accepts. I'm just going to put a bunch of zeros in and see what happens. What's that? No, I think there's actually more because there's, that's not it. Yeah, because there's like scaling and rotation and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, let's. Yeah, so here's the values that I had. 0.04, 0.04, and then 0, 0. That should do it, maybe. That's to scale the die down. So if you put like if you don't have that in there, then the dice are gonna be huge because they're just really, really big. Yeah, they're like huge.
You've got the orientation radius as well.
Oh, right here? Okay. That's not even all on the screen. Let me try to get that on the screen. There we go. Cool?
So, CW, etc. They were
What's that?
the width and the height, the CWCH, where are they coming from?
They should be
Canvas.
up at the very top of your file. You will have defined a local CW equals some number, and then local CH. Here, I'll dive up there real quick, and people can review their work. See right there. Keep doing that. So possibly you're getting something that looks like that. Yeah? Cool. All right. It's good. It's good. I feel like we've made progress. What time is it and how? Okay. I think I'm going to actually even simplify this further. It may be less of a competitive game and a dice roller game. We'll see. We'll see how far we go. But let's shoot first for a dice roller. So it won't be a game. It'll just be a handy D6 roller for you. Let's see. The first thing for that we would need to do is, well, we're going to need some numbers, right? I mean, that's what we need, right? So take out some comfort die here. So how can we get a random number on a computer? Does anyone have any ideas? People who haven't done this before? People who haven't done this before?
No, you cannot cheat.
Anybody have an idea? I don't believe nobody has an idea. Where could we get a random number in real life? Like if we were looking around the room and we needed a number like right now, where could we get one? What's that? Sure. So how would that be? Like maybe by row, 1, 2, 3, and then seat 1, 2, 3. So we could count on a matrix. What else? There's a really common source of numbers that we refer to. In fact, I just referred to it myself in form of a question. But that was way before. Time, a clock, right? So computers have clocks, and we can kind of tap into that. It's super easy. Do I have a? No, I don't. I don't know how to do anything in tmux. Okay, that's fine. We'll skip over it. It's super easy in Bash. If you're in a terminal and you just type in the word date, you'll get like a number. And if you do a date, I think plus %s, lowercase s, I think, is that epoch time? You'll get a really long string of really long string of digits that if you keep doing it up, enter, up, enter, up, enter, it'll change constantly. It's ticking all the time. So this is a pretty good source of I say pretty good, it's like an acceptable sometimes source of random numbers in a computer. And the way that works in in Lua actually,
OS.time.
is yes. That's good. I'm going to stop scolding people for reading the manual.
I just remember all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez. People are angry now because it's not random enough. Don't worry. This is a D6 roller. We're going to be fine. So if you do math.randomSeed, os.time, parentheses, then what you're doing is you're telling Lua to establish, to kind of switch on this sort of awareness of, okay, I'm going to need a random number. So whenever I need that, I'm going to do some calculations based on like right now, whatever time I get back from my computer, and I'll do fancy things and then give you a number back. And admittedly, it is not super random. Like I was doing tests for a different project last night, and I was trying to get some probability of dice rolls, and it was just a joke. It was ridiculous. It was clearly not accurate. So it's not great, but it works for our purposes. So we establish this random seed in the LÖVE load function, and then we will use that random seed in our draw function to figure out what to draw on the screen. So let's do what are we using? We're using Dave, right? We're doing the human stuff. Let me indent this. There we go. Yeah, so we draw Dave constantly. That'll probably have to change. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to invoke this random function that we've created, this random seed, and we're going to get a number from it. And the way that you do that,
Give the range.
yes. The thing is, so, all right, so we need to tell LÖVE/Lua, like we need to say, hey, I want a number now, I want a random number. And what do we want to have trigger that? What, on a phone, what would you expect to, how would you get a number, like a dice number on a phone? Like probably just a tap or something, right? So that's basically a mouse click. Like this on a phone is a mouse click. So we don't want to put our little call of randomness in our draw function, because what does the draw do? It repeats every millisecond, right? We don't want that many random numbers. We just want it on demand. So there happens to be a nice little function in LÖVE for this very purpose, and it is called function. Well, we can use it by calling function LÖVE.mouse released. Why released and not something like, I don't know, pressed?
That's Canada?
This is when you let go of the mouse, not when you press the mouse.
Correct. We want it when we that would give us a random number for as long as we held the button down. That's not what we want. We want the button. We want the one number, and the one event that we can track is when we do that. So, I mean, there are times where you may want to use the press, a mouse press. And in fact, in the bigger version of this little game, I have some audio playing, so that if people hold down the mouse key, then audio starts like you're sort of powering up the dice, and then you release it and you feel like you've done something special. And it is all illusory. Okay, so when that happens, we're going to get a random number. What do we want to do with a random number? Does anyone know? Because remember, computers, they can't track what's that? Okay, so first we're going to save it, because if we grab it here when it's released, then we need to take a snapshot, and computers can't keep track of anything unless you put it in a box, a variable. So what would be a good variable name for Dave's role? Dave, wait, what?
Dave Dice.
Dave what? Who?
Dave Dice.
Dave Dice or Dave dot dice? Dot dice. Remember, in Lua, tables, we have a table called Dave. We established that way up here.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So in order to throw stuff into that table, we just put a dot and then some word. And like I say, it can be any word. So not that. That's the one thing it cannot be. So Dave.dice equals, right? Because that's how we set a variable. And then we need to use a Lua function called math dot, and we just invoke it with random. And we need to give it a range. And the way that Lua expresses ranges in this context is a comma. Different programming languages do it differently. You'll see it, whatever. But in this case, in Lua, that's how you do it. So you're saying, okay, I want you to get that. I want you to invoke the random seed to get a number, but I want you to constrain that number between 1 and 6. That's probably, that's not a whole lot to work with, and maybe rolling a d20 would have been better, but we're doing d6 because that's the image that I found. So we'll.
Sorry, because this is only working because we did math.random seed.
Correct.
If we hadn't have done that, it would have said.
I think it'll actually just fail silently. No?
Because it will generate, what you're doing with the random seed is you're initializing the random number generator. So it all starts like that, it all starts at the same time.
Well, isn't that? Okay. So, I'm going to comment it out right now, and we're going to test. Oh, wait, that won't work anyway. Never mind. We'll just take it on faith right now that in one way or another, if you had not started the random seed, either you would get the same number back every time, or you would fail silently. It's going to feel approximately the same because it's not going to change. Okay, so now we do have a number. And when we get the number, we want it to be reflected in the dice image, right? That's the goal here. We want to see what we got. You might think, well, let me ask you what you think. Where do you think we would redraw? Where would we put this new image? How could we define? Now, let's say we rolled a 6, and we've got Dave by default is die 1, right? So how do we tell it? Where do we tell it? Yes. Okay. So, yep. No, actually. Well, okay. So, I think you're actually kind of saying the same thing. So, what I think is saying here is we're saying, okay, so we're going to say that now that we have a random number, we are going to then override what we've already told LÖVE in the beginning Dave's image is. So we're going to say Dave.image is now, instead of die1.png, we're going to say that it's LÖVE.graphics.newImage, and then the path to the die. But here's where it gets tricky. So we don't know what random has gotten. It's gotten a number 1 through 6. How do we know what image to load?
Load them all outside and then index.
Oh, you could do that, actually. Yeah, okay. I like that.
You've got to iterate through the dice numbers. I guess you're trying to go as the number.
Yeah.
I think the answer you're looking for is string dot format.
Yeah. Okay. So, but that's a great way to do it. But this is really good because this is something that you're going to be doing in Lua a lot, which is concatenating data. And really in programming, a lot of times you're doing things like this. So in Lua, if you want to put two things sort of together, it is, for whatever reason, 2 dots. I'm going to give myself a little bit more room here. So what we're saying is that the new image is going to be just in the same old image location, and then /die, and then close the quote, and then ... meaning don't stop here. I'm going to give you another value. And we're going to refer to the value as Dave.dice, because that's what we named it, right? Dave.dice has some number. We don't know what it is. So put it there. And then, again, don't stop. Keep going. and then it ends in .png. So we're basically telling it, I want you to kind of construct a file path for me. And that file path should contain image/die, whatever's in Dave Dice, and then .png.
Concatenating a number like that is undefined behavior in LÖVE. You have to use string format, or else it, depending on locale.
I think, okay, so I think what's happening here is that LÖVE is probably protecting us from that.
No, it doesn't. It only works in the current, in the old release, and the new one actually changes format entirely.
Okay.
It's really unsafe code.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
What was the heckler?
I'm going to leave it like that nevertheless right now because I'm on a time limit, but I will keep that in mind in the future. So if you, let's see where we're at now. So if you launch your little program and click with your virtual finger, you should be seeing your dice change. Is anyone not seeing that? Yeah?
Where did you assign, I'm wondering if it even matters, where did you assign each image to a number? Because I know that we have the random 1 to 6, that feels very iconic to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see, like I know that you give us like this series of images, but how does it know which or which? I mean,
Well, it doesn't, and that's probably why it's not the greatest format. So we're just telling it, we're constructing a path from whatever.
Running a string that's a variable inside. That's how it's being called, which becomes a number.
Yeah. Which is then passed to, yeah.
That's why it's separated by the lines.
So I've had a bit of a problem. I can't get dice image to show.
But you've got a green background?
I did get the green background, but beyond that, I've not.
Is anyone else on 9 and not seeing the die? What's that?
I'm on 9.
Oh, okay. What was it? Was it just the series of?
Setting up the initial 3 draw, load draw.
Yeah, that's a lot of zeros for anybody. So you're saying to put another line in here where you're formatting, or where you're converting the value? Yeah, sure. Go for it. Oh wait, this is a Dvorak keyboard. Wait. There you go. This will work. Sort of. And the return key isn't actually the return key.
So what is it?
It's the backslash or the pipe.
So it's just like a printf style thing is usually the easiest way to do it. I am. Good observation. There's your quote key. There.
Yeah, I think that should be standard, yeah.
So that's one way to do it.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
Alternatively, you could go something like, enter doesn't work. How to press enter?
This one with the,
That one?
yeah. Yeah, I don't want to really necessarily go into that, yeah.
All
yeah.
right. Go.
Yeah, that's, yeah. I liked that idea, but yeah, I don't want to get too deep into that right now. So yeah, cool. There you go. We've formatted using a, I don't know, what are those called? Not variables, string format, I guess. Converting this, yeah. And if Mr. Lua over here says that, that the other way is unsafe, I would rather do it this way. So if you want to copy that, that's fine. Okay, so I think we probably have time. I feel like we probably have time to do a little bit of sound because I want to kind of make this more than just graphics. So we are. I think I still have what? Oh no, we're almost done, aren't we?
I think it might be 3:30.
Is it 3:30 or 3?
3:10, sorry.
Okay, yeah, then we don't really have time for sound necessarily. Okay, we can. All right, let's try it.
I'm sure we can all just like hang out.
Okay, so it isn't hard. That's the good news. In fact, you could probably honestly kind of figure it out on your own. So what we're going to do is we're going to use. Oh, you messed up my keyboard because now it's in US and there we go. Now it's better. Yeah, it's better. Well, I still have to blame you. Okay, so everything's working better now. So what we're going to do is we're going to define a variable up at the top. And we're going to call it, what did I call it here? I'm going to call it rumble because, no, actually, yeah, or tumble. Let's call it tumble. And we're going to give it it's similar to defining a new image, except that instead of an image, it's not that, it's audio, I think. LÖVE.audio.new source. So it's a lot like the new image.new or the graphic.new image. It's just a source of audio. And it's pretty much, I don't think I've actually distributed the sound to you, so we're going to have to distribute that. So we'll do sound.dice.og, comma, stream.
Oh,
It's
you've
off
gone
screen.
off, yeah.
It's too wide.
And actually, for consistency, I'm going to just convert these to single quotes because I think that's what I've been using. Is that better? Yeah, that looks. I don't know if strictly this next one is necessary in this case because I forget what the default is, but I'm going to put it in anyway because it's something that's good to know about. So we're going to use the same variable name, and we're going to tell LÖVE to set looping as false. And that is simply, I think it defaults to not looping anyway, but I'm going to put it in there because that way you'll remember that there's an option to loop a sound. So if you have a background music or something like that, then you could set looping to true, and then it would just keep playing that sound, you know, for as long as you.
That bowling sentence? Actually, we're running out of time. I can ask you about later.
Yeah. Okay, so that has established the variable. So hopefully you're seeing a pattern here. We kind of set up some variables, and then we start using them in the code, and that's kind of pretty typical. And then where do we want to trigger this sound, do we think? Do we want it in the draw method, the load method? Where would we want this? What's that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, and it's hard for you actually to answer this because you haven't heard the sound yet. So actually, in this case, I want it on the release again because it's going to be the sound of that. So we just want that to happen once. And playing a sound is as easy as triggering it by saying love.audio.play and then telling it what sound to actually play. Now, you don't have this sound yet, so let me dash out to my master directory here, and I'm going to secure copy this file to
Syntax error.
oh, a syntax error?
Yeah.
That, oh, yeah, that could be. Yeah, it could be.
Still, what have we? Yeah. Audio. Screen.
Yeah, I forgot to bundle the sound. I'm putting that onto a website right now. Okay. So if you guys wget slackermedia.info/tank/dice.og. Oh, nope, sorry, just tank. It should just be a tank. Like that. Grab that and put that in a folder called SND for sound. Try that out. See if that works. Cool. Yeah, great. All right. I mean, no, I meant that sincerely. Sorry. Cool. Great. Great. You're a programmer now. All right. So I do need to cover one more thing, and that is how to get this thing into a format that people can use. You're kidding, but it's really, really close to what we're about to do. Let me grab my sound file here. Can you see this? Are you seeing this? Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got a directory. This is your project directory still, and you probably want to do this in a terminal. I would do it in a terminal. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a zip. And actually, this might not work on Mac OS. Yeah, anyway, zip. Let's call it dice roller. Dice roller dot, and then we're going to call it zip, because I think some zip tools will get really confused if you try to create something that's not called a zip. And then we're going to do a -R for recursive, which means, hey, if you find if you come across a directory, grab all the stuff in the directory. That's what recursive means. And then font, image, and then main, and sound. So everything in the folder in this directory pretty much. So what we're doing here is we're using the zip command to create a new archive called diceroller.zip. And we're saying all of these things here, that's what we want to put into that archive. So 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And then, so now we've got a diceroller.zip. We are going to rename that with an mv tool command, rather. And we're going to call it, instead of dice-roller.zip, and this you could actually probably do in a file manager, we're going to call it a LÖVE. So diceroller.LÖVE. And if you do that on your machine, you may even see that the icon changes. It'll change from like a generic zip archive to a little LÖVE icon, probably.
And it freaks out if you don't just, if you don't do the intermediate step of naming it zip first.
I think it probably depends on the zip tool,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure I've run into problems with it. I feel like I have. I feel like zip itself is pretty picky about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I usually do is make a little makefile that just does all that stuff for me, and then I don't have to bother with it. But yeah, yeah. So now that package right there is it's a LÖVE file, and if you send it to a friend and say, hey, if you need to roll a d6, you should use this really not very random application that I wrote. And they'll be, as long as they download the LÖVE package and install it, they'll be able to do that. They'll be able to.
Have Lua and LÖVE installed on their site to do so?
They do not need Lua per se. They just need to get LÖVE. Like whatever process they get LÖVE by, everything will be self-contained in there. And that includes Android phones. So if you go to löve2d.org and install LÖVE from the site, and I say that significantly because the Play Store has an older version, then you'll be able to play your, just pretend like this is on the screen, really big. You'll be able to play your little dice roller on your phone, just as you are on your screen. So it's a pretty easy way, really, to get a nice and quick little app on a phone without having to like go through the whole Android, the APK or the SDK for Android and stuff like that. The LÖVE application on Android is a little bit, it's not quite perfect yet. There's like no way to choose your files, so you have to sort of tell your Android phone, hey, when you see a LÖVE file, open it in this application. So it's not perfect, but they're still working on it. It is technically available for iOS as well. But from the instructions that I saw, you pretty much have to compile it for iOS, and it looked like Xcode and stuff like that. So probably not something that most of your users would be doing. That's everything that I have, I think. So, and actually part of the paper thing was we were gonna randomize some numbers. So I guess I'll do that really quick, but you don't have to follow along on this one. No, I think it was this one. Oh. 1 to 6. No, 1 to 10, I said, right? Okay, so paper time. Anyone who wrote down the number 2, what is your win or lose condition that you wrote down along with 2? No one wrote down 2? Yeah, aren't they though? How about the number 5? Anybody wrote down 5? 5 minutes left. How about number 8? People did understand the instructions. Okay, yes. What win or lose condition did you write down?
Minus the inferior of
Is the loser or the winner?
winner.
So if 8 or above, you win, but lower, you lose. Okay, so who has been excluded from winning at this point? If you did not do 8 or above, you have lost the game at this point. You lost? All right, so remember, okay, so remember that. So number 4, who's 4? Okay, what was your win or lose condition? Above 4 wins, so that means he can still win. And what else was it?
4 or less.
Okay, but 4 exactly what happens?
Oh, well, 4 or less you lose. So
4 or less, you lose. Okay. So you lost yourself? Like you explicitly wrote into your.
apparently, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't give any requirements. What about number 10? Really? I thought for sure everyone would write down 10 because that would be the obvious order of execution. I feel like, okay. I feel like people aren't maybe speaking up. 9? Do we have any 9s? Ooh, 9s. Okay, what's the condition?
If you're above the average, then you win.
Above average. Oh, man. All right, above average. So, all right. That's not going to be possible. But OK, cool. I like that one. 1. Yes.
I didn't understand.
That's fine.
My win condition is you feel emotion starts.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. 3. I mean, and that you did understand. That's just changing the game. 3 is shout hey. Nice. All right.
Mine was
Make
make a mark on the whiteboard.
a mark on the whiteboard to win. Did you provision for markers? No. Oh, okay, okay, cool. I didn't. I know. I'm running out of time. 6. Who wrote 6 down? But you may override the previous conditions. No, you definitely. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. 7. Yes.
My lose condition.
Yeah.
Is blue.
Blue. Okay, and no win condition, just a lose. You said you wrote.
So 7 or above you win.
7 or above, you win. What were we on? 6 or 7 just now? 7. Okay, and then I wrote down. Oh, I was on 3, so I skipped my turn. And the first person to be eliminated wins. So so that was you actually. But that, I mean, random. So yeah. But that I just wanted to kind of do that because I think sometimes we. How many more minutes? Just count down. 60, 59. So I think sometimes when we go to a computer, we kind of our brain starts to separate, and we're like, okay, now we have to go and code something, and you sort of put the horse before the cart before the horse. And it's important to think about like that analog side of things, of designing a game basically from nothing. I mean, you can take sheets of paper and write down rules and then see how they go together, or you can roll some die and see how they merge. And so it's important to, before you start coding, like really think about like what the game is. Like where's the game? That'll bring a lot of focus. It'll tell you what to look up online when you're thinking, what do I need to do first? Like what can I I need to draw some graphics. What graphics? Well, I don't know, but have a game in mind first. That's the thing that I wanted to illustrate. So thanks for coming to my talk, and I hope you got a lot out of it. Go buy my book and stuff like that.